My name is Lindy Bunch, and I'm the priest here at Trinity+St. Peter's Episcopal Church in San Francisco. You talked about this period of time where your theology and the heart of your faith really had to exist outside of the church.
That's right. You know, in the absence of the church's approval, in the absence of a sense of space and inclusion in the church for me as a queer and trans person ultimately, is that you seek ways of ministering outside of the walls of the church because you don't have the right to do it within the walls of the church. I think a lot of LGBT folk who have been excluded from organized religion in the past have created robust spiritualities, right? Mm. They have created ritual in community that is meaningful and powerful, that all exists and arises in the absence of affirmation and approval of the church in particular, but most organized religions at the end of the day. I found that spirituality outside of the walls of the church to be inspiring and beautiful. And holy in its own ways. The sense of dedication among folks in the community to care for each other, to nurture each other, to build families with each other, to create rituals of meaning with and for one another is a beautiful thing. My ministry took me out into the streets to work with those folks, with my folks, you know. And ultimately, at the end of the day, learning what I learned there, I brought with me into the church, and sometimes inspired and sometimes challenged the church to open their eyes to what's going on out there. You know, this sense of that in order for the church to thrive, that we need to invite them here. And I'm of the mind that in order for the church to thrive, we need to actually go out there because we have so much to learn from the spirit and the passion and the holiness of queer relationships, of the way that we have cared for one another, buried one another during times of disease, the way that we have formed and built familial bonds and relationships that are passionate and stable and beautiful, and not very much the same as the ones that we expect to find in the church. It's so unbelievable, the depth of spirit, the depth of compassion, the depth of dedication that you find out there. And I think the church has a lot to learn from those models of ministry. Mm-hmm. How about your experience of ministering to people who are queer in the church? What's the most common question you get from the queer folk in your life?
I think the most common question is, are we allowed to be here?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly. And, you know, I was talking with a man the other day, and he was remarking that this is his experience of being in the church at that moment was one of the first times that he's really felt safe in a church his whole life. And he's probably in his 30s. He's about my age. And so I think I am humbled every time I talk to folks at the level of damage that the church has inflicted. And I have to say, as a priest, you know, I wear a collar. This is a uniform. And because it is a uniform, it points to something beyond me, right? It identifies me with an institution. And so whatever my own personal beliefs or, you know, even sexuality myself, I have a responsibility, I believe, to atone for the sins of my institution as well. So I feel like when I talk to a lot of queer folks, it's a lot of apologizing and listening.
Yeah.